The Walt Disney Company has been a symbol of joy for literally billions of people around the world for almost 100 years. From its modest start to the ultimate creation of their movie studio and theme parks around the globe. But before most of that success, a tragedy occurred. Now, there's plenty of information available about the Disney family and their history and how the empire was built. I knew about the death of Walt's mother, Flora, but a quick internet search comes up with surprisingly little information. The date of death will show up, but not the cause. Wikipedia pages on Walt Disney or his father, Flora's husband, come up empty. That's what this video is about. Walt Disney's mother, Flora Call Disney. Hi everyone, Scott with Dearly Departed Online here. I'm in Toluca Lake, California right now. I love this place. It's near Los Angeles, but yet it seems far enough away from Los Angeles. Now I'm going to take you to a home where a terrible accident occurred. I do like Toluca Lake a lot. It's just so, I don't know, a lot more green, a lot less congested, a lot more expensive because it's pleasant. And, I don't know, seems far enough and close enough to be out of reach. Cute little houses. Cute little homes. But this accident you're going to see or hear about today involves one of the most beloved names in history. And a lot of people don't know that this terrible thing happened to this loving, lovable, iconic American sort of hero. Here's a photograph of Walt's mother and father, Flora and Elias Disney. Flora was from Steuben, Ohio, and was of German and English descent. She married Elias Charles Disney on January 1st, 1888 in Kismet, Florida, and together they had 5 children, one of which was Walt Disney. Look at this sweet neighborhood. A loving mother, Flora took pride in caring for her family and encouraging their individual paths in life. An accomplished seamstress, she made clothing for all of her children. So the house where this tragedy occurred is the last one coming up on the right. I'm going to turn around so you can get a good view of it. Walt and his brother Roy moved to Hollywood in 1923 and found commercial success in early animation, ultimately creating Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, and Pluto. They were animation pioneers. They had huge success with short animated films and decided to set their sights on a full-length animated motion picture. It took 4 years to complete the first full-length animated color feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It was released in 1937 and was a huge success. Celebrating that success, Walt and Roy planned to expand the Disney empire. And to celebrate their parents' 50th wedding anniversary, they bought this house for them. Until that time, Mr. and Mrs. Disney were living in Oregon. They were elated to come to California and be closer to their sons. Less than a month after moving in, Mrs. Disney spoke to her sons of an odd smell in the house, particularly around the gas furnace. In a letter Mrs. Disney wrote to her daughter Ruth, she described their wonderful new home, the beautiful California weather, and how happy they were, but mentioned the odd smell around the furnace. Walt had carpenters from the studio sent to the house 2 separate times to check on the furnace and fix the problem. The men were not qualified to work on things like this. They thought they fixed the problem, but they didn't, and no one knew. The Disney family had a happy Thanksgiving meal together on Thursday, the 24th of November. None of them could possibly know it would be their last Thanksgiving together. 2 days later, on Saturday the 26th, the Disney housekeeper, Elma Smith, arrived for work. She let herself into the house, entered through the kitchen, and said she felt faint. She opened all the doors and windows. Then, fearing for the safety of her employers, ran upstairs to the bedroom and found them both on the bed, unconscious. Both Mr. and Mrs. Disney were rushed to Hollywood Hospital, but Mrs. Disney was dead on arrival. Cause of death? Asphyxia by suffocation of gas fumes. She was 70 years old. Mr. Disney would survive. Mr. Disney's health improved, and he was released just long enough to attend the private funeral for his wife at the Wee Kirk of the Heather Church at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale. It was officiated by Reverend Glenn Pewter of the Emmanuel Presbyterian Church, who was also married to Walt's niece. After the service, Mr. Disney was returned to Hollywood Hospital for continued recuperation. One Disney producer said Walt felt personally responsible for the accident. It's every kid's dream to buy their parents a house, and through a strange freak of nature, through no fault of his own, the studio workers didn't know what they were doing. That idea that he really contributed to his mother's death was really tragic. He believes that's why so many popular characters in Disney movies don't have mothers. The Jungle Book, Peter Pan, Pinocchio, Cinderella. Perhaps it's no coincidence that 4 years later, Disney's film Bambi included one of the most heart-wrenching scenes in Disney history. 3 years later, Mr. Disney would join his wife in death. They are interred side by side in the Great Mausoleum at Forest Lawn, Glendale, in the Sanctuary of Truth. Thank you for joining me on my weird trip down Disney memory lane. Thank you so much to my friend Mark Masick, the author of Hollywood Remains to be Seen, for providing the photographs of Mr. and Mrs. Disney's grave. I want to thank a few people for generously sponsoring my page through the Patreon link below this video. Ann Meyer, Summer Tulick, Amber, Neil Robertson, Kathleen West, and Paul Ellerby. Please hit the subscribe button below and hit the little bell to be notified of new videos. I'd love to hear what you don't like about my video, so please feel free to leave your comments below. I thank you so much for your time and for your attention. And until next time.
You heard me.